Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're peeling back the layers on Google's artificial intelligence model, Bard.
Yeah, Bard. It's everywhere now, isn't it?
It really is. We're going to explore what's really going on inside its circuits and maybe more importantly, wrestle with this question. Have we started handing it, well, too much power?
Right.
Okay, let's unpack this.
It's such a fundamental question for right now, truly. Understanding these AI models, like Bard, their capabilities, their implications,
Yeah.
it's not just for tech geeks anymore.
No, definitely not.
It's really crucial for all of us, in a world that's increasingly shaped by these algorithms affecting everything. News feeds, daily tasks, you name it.
So let's start at the beginning then.
Yeah,
What exactly is Bard? I mean, I know it's Google's big answer to ChatGPT, but what's under the hood?
you're right. It's their direct competitor in that conversational AI space. Basically, at its core, Bard is powered by Gemini,
Gemini.
which is Google's, well, their most powerful large language model currently. It actually launched using a different model first, LaMDA.
No. Oh, I remember LaMDA.
Yeah, but the upgrade to Gemini 1.5, that was a real game changer.
That's
It allowed Bard to handle much, much longer context windows. So essentially, it can remember and process way more information in one go.
Better memory.
Exactly. Which leads to more accurate reasoning
Right.
and lets it tackle a much broader range of, complex tasks.
And its core functions sound incredibly versatile. It understands language, generates sort of human-like responses, acts like a digital assistant. What kind of things can it do right now?
It's surprisingly versatile, yeah. It's not
Yes.
just answering basic questions.
Yeah.
It can write pretty complex code, summarize really long documents, and, yeah, even get creative poems, essays, that kind of thing.
So it aims to be pretty comprehensive.
Totally. A digital system that works across lots of different domains.
But what really seems to set Bard apart, especially if you're deep in the Google world, is that integration, right? That deep embedding into the whole ecosystem. I mean, summarizing your Gmail, organizing Google Docs, searching your Drive, it feels like it's not just searching the web anymore, it's searching your life.
Yes. And what's fascinating here is precisely that point. That deep integration, it immediately makes you ask, right? You, the listener, is that level of access, that convenience,
Yeah.
is it just helpful or does it start to feel a little,
Little intrusive.
yeah, maybe a little too close for comfort?
When Bard first launched, there was all this talk about whether it would just knock ChatGPT off its perch immediately.
I remember that buzz.
But it didn't, did it? Not really, at least not in terms of sheer user numbers. ChatGPT, especially the GPT-4 versions, they still seem to dominate traffic.
That's a really key observation. But see, Bard isn't necessarily playing the exact same game. It's not just about that initial splash, that head-on collision for users.
So what's the strategy then?
It seems to be more about quietly embedding itself into your daily workflow. It's a much more strategic, long-term play. A battle for being the default choice, not just the first one discovered.
Right, and that makes perfect sense with Google's existing position, doesn't it? They already have search, ads, maps, email.
They're already everywhere in your digital life.
Exactly. So now Bard is just becoming the sort of intelligence layer behind all of that. You could almost think of it like your own AI executive assistant, but one that has a backstage pass to basically every corner of your digital world.
And that tight integration, it's truly a double-edged sword. On one hand, undeniable superpower for convenience, right?
Absolutely.
But it also becomes a really serious concern when you think about control. I mean, if Bard becomes your go-to AI for practically everything,
Then who controls your narrative?
exactly, who filters your information? And maybe more importantly, who decides what you don't get to see?
That's a chilling thought.
It is. The real insight isn't just that Google's AI is powerful. It's that a company whose entire empire was built on capturing and directing attention now has an AI that can subtly shape your whole information diet right inside their own ecosystem.
That's a much more powerful lever than just standard search results.
That'd be more powerful.
Okay, so this leads us straight into what I'd call the cognitive power problem. We're not just talking processing speed here, but actual cognitive ability.
Right. The ability to understand, reason, create.
And it's kind of staggering. Bard's summarizing hours of video in seconds, writing pretty convincing arguments for almost any position, handling coding tasks.
Even complex documentation. The potential use cases are huge. Helping students cheat, maybe?
No.
Companies code faster, writers maybe ghostwrite entire novels?
But with that power, are we seeing the pitfalls just as quickly? What are the immediate downsides we've actually observed?
Oh, absolutely. Alongside those impressive capabilities, we've definitely seen, well, documented downsides, concerning signs of bias creeping in.
Which is a huge issue with LLMs.
Huge. Then there are the infamous hallucinations, where it just confidently makes things up.
Fabricated facts, yeah.
And this thing called black box reasoning.
Hmm.
Basically, we often don't really know why Bard comes up with the answer it does. Its internal logic is kind of opaque.
Not ideal when you're relying on it.
Not at all. And we've already seen some pretty striking incidents. Bard generating flat-out false medical advice, dangerous misinformation, completely fabricated citations in research.
Wow.
And maybe most critically, remember back in February 2024, Google had to actually pause Bard's image generation feature.
Oh, yeah, the image thing. That was bad.
It produced historically inaccurate images, including unbelievably people of color depicted in Nazi uniforms. You can just imagine the panic internally.
That's not just a bug. That's
A global PR crisis, exactly. And it just highlights how, at this scale, with this level of access and output, a seemingly small error can become this massive ripple affecting millions.
So now picture a future where Bard is even more embedded. It's writing news articles, coding essential apps, maybe advising your doctor, tutoring your kids.
Right. And the question isn't really, can Bard do all this? It probably can eventually. The real question is, should it?
It's worth remembering, too, Google isn't new to AI. Not at all.
Yeah.
They were pioneers with the transformer architecture, right? The very thing that underpins models like Bard.
Absolutely. They did foundational work there, that groundbreaking design that lets AIs process and generate language so coherently. Google Brain was central to that.
So given their history, what really pushed them to release Bard seemingly so quickly? Was it just the ChatGPT effect?
That's a huge part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a crucial context.
Yeah.
While Google had all this amazing research, OpenAI and ChatGPT just burst onto the scene first, created this enormous splash.
And changed the game overnight.
Totally. It basically forced Google to play catch-up, and fast. Bard is very much part of Google's, well, their all-in push to reclaim dominance in AI, as some put it.
And their plan to do that smells pretty clear. Bake Bard into everything. Google Workspace, Android, YouTube, Search.
Integrate.
The goal isn't just to compete with ChatGPT anymore, is it? It feels bigger. Like becoming the default AI for, 2 billion people?
That seems to be the end game. And it's not just about market share in the traditional sense. It's about establishing this AI-powered ecosystem lock-in.
Making it harder for other AIs to get a foothold.
Exactly. If you're already using Bard seamlessly within all your Google tools, why switch? So the core tension becomes really clear. The more power Bard gets, the more power Google gets.
And in a world increasingly shaped by algorithms.
This isn't just about which app you use. It gets into control of information, subtle behavioral influence, and frankly, a deeper level of economic dominance.
So where does this leave us? What does it all mean? Is Bard just too powerful? Or are these just the growing pains of a new technology?
That really brings us to a significant point from the source material we looked at. Well, Bard's answers might feel neutral, objective even.
They're not.
They're shaped, fundamentally shaped, by the massive amounts of data it was trained on, sure, but also by Google's corporate goals, by inherent biases baked into the algorithms, and by their content moderation policies, what it is and isn't allowed to say.
And Google hasn't been super transparent about the training data, have they?
No, they've been pretty vague, actually, which makes it incredibly hard for users, for you, to fully trust its output, especially when you get into sensitive areas, politics, social issues, medical advice.
Yeah, you need to know where it's coming from.
Precisely.
And for you, the listener, thinking about privacy, it's not just about a potential data breach, though that's a risk. Consider the more subtle thing. When Bard can access your Gmail, your docs, your calendar, it knows your preferences, your habits, maybe better than your family does.
The detailed digital footprint.
How might that be used, not just for convenience, but maybe to subtly nudge your choices in ways that align with Google's own strategic aims?
And governments are definitely starting to grapple with these exact questions. We're seeing things like the EU's AI Act, various U.S. congressional hearings. They're raising red flags.
What's the core question they're asking?
Well, if you connect it to the bigger picture, regulators are essentially asking, should companies even be allowed to build AIs that can potentially know more about you than your own family does? It's a profound question about corporate power and personal autonomy.
But okay, let's bring it back to the individual. Let's not forget the human in this story, you, the listener. Ultimately, you decide how much power Bard gets, right?
You get to choose.
Whether to let it into your inbox, your documents, your decision-making process.
That's true, in theory. But here's the kicker, something the sources really highlight. It's getting harder and harder to consciously say no.
Why is that?
Because Google is slowly, often quietly, making Bard the default option across more and more of its services.
Ah, so it just becomes part of the furniture?
Exactly. Meaning most users probably won't even realize they're actively using it unless they're really paying close attention or digging into settings.
And convenience. Well, it's incredibly seductive, isn't it? We
Yeah.
all love convenience.
Always.
But it always comes at a cost. You might get faster answers.
But maybe you lose a bit of your critical thinking muscle along the way.
You get news automatically summarized for you.
But maybe you only see one curated side of the story.
You get what feels like your own personal AI assistant.
But you have to remember, ultimately, it works for a trillion-dollar company with its own interests.
Yeah.
Look, the most powerful AIs, they aren't inherently evil or malicious. They're just indifferent.
Indifferent. How so?
They simply reflect their training data, the design choices of their builders, and crucially, the incentives of their creators. They optimize for what they're told to optimize for.
And if we're not careful, we could wake up one day and realize we've effectively outsourced our reasoning. Not to another trusted human,
Yeah.
but to a machine optimized primarily for engagement and, well, profit.
So back to the central question. Is Bard too powerful? Here's what the analysis seems to suggest. Bard itself isn't inherently dangerous. It's a tool.
Yeah.
But its impressive and rapidly expanding capabilities, when combined with powerful corporate incentives and, frankly, a concerning lack of transparency, that combination makes it a potentially destabilizing force, especially if it's left unchecked.
So what's the takeaway? What do we do?
It really puts the onus on us, all of us.
Yeah.
Technologists building these systems, lawmakers trying to regulate them, educators teaching critical thinking,
And everyday users.
especially everyday users, to demand transparency, to actively challenge the outputs we get from AI, not just accept them, and to consciously set boundaries for how much we let these tools into our lives.
Because while Bard might seem like just a helpful tool today,
Tomorrow, it could easily become something else entirely. An invisible influence,
yeah,
quietly shaping the very way we think, the information we consume, the decisions we make.
that is definitely something to mull over. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive today.
Stay curious out there.
Yes, stay curious, stay skeptical, and always remember, AI might be getting incredibly smart, but you still get to choose what truly matters.